Well, I'm Alex Rivera, one of the directors and producers of The Infiltrators.
I'm Cristina Ibarra, the other director-producer.
And well, with this little making of, we wanted to answer some of the most basic questions about why we made this film, how we made it, in case any of it might be helpful to you. So to start off, why make The Infiltrators? Well, for many reasons. We both have immigrants, some documented, some undocumented, in our families. And both of us have been making films for 20 years about border issues and immigration.
And so we were used to the idea that undocumented folks would most often stay in the shadows and be careful.
But in 2010, we saw something we'd never seen before. Undocumented people coming out of the shadows, getting arrested and risking their own deportation in acts of political protest.
Dreamers were being deported by the Obama administration. But nonetheless, this group, known sometimes as the National Immigrant Youth Alliance, sometimes as Dream Activist, marched in front of news cameras and risked it all.
When we saw these images in the news, we were floored. We had questions.
What would push someone to take this kind of risk?
What would the government do in response?
And what would happen next?
Let's go. Let's go.
Looming over all of it was, to us, the biggest question. How can stateless people build political power?
Undocumented folks can't vote, and yet they're deeply impacted by the actions of our government. How could they fight back with the threat of deportation looming over them?
Maybe we'll do one more pass on this, but starting from the bottom. We think questions are great places to start making films. So we started to make a film. At first, we thought it would be a short film about one of these actions. These are images from that film, a film that never got released. The short film never got released because when we tried to edit, the activists went on and did something else, bigger and bolder than the action we had filmed. So we filmed that next one, and when we tried to edit, they went and did something else, bigger and bolder again. So we stopped editing.
Ultimately, we filmed with the group for about 2 years. That's how we ended up on the ground, embedded with the group during the infiltration of the Broward Detention Center. When we looked back at all the footage, it was the story of the infiltration that stood out. But there was a problem. We were missing half of the film.
Now, assuming you've already seen the film, you know that this was an activist action organized on two sides of a wall. Part of the campaign took place outside of detention, out here in society.
But the other half of the story unfolded inside detention, in a world where we as filmmakers could not go.
There are over 200 for-profit detention centers across the country, and back in 2010, there were about 40,000 immigrants locked up inside. Despite the scale of the system, very few images of the insides of these facilities have leaked out. The corporations that run them tightly control the flow of images.
And so, along with our set of earlier questions, we had a new one. How do you document something that is being hidden?
We thought about a lot of options: animation, audio, abstract performance art. But ultimately, inspired by the activists themselves,
I can almost compare it to a theater play. Mo being the director, Marco and I being actors.
We decided to depict the unseeable realm of detention with actors, and we entered the landscape of the hybrid film.
A bit about hybrid films. In this case, by hybrid, we mean films that tell a true story, but that use scripted reenactments with actors to tell parts of that story.
A lot of hybrid films use an interview as the main documentary element.
And then use reenactment to depict the past.
The whole film ends up feeling a bit like a flashback.
We wanted to do something different, something that felt urgent, immediate.
And we had more than an interview on the documentary side. We had footage of real people in real time fighting a ticking clock. We started to think maybe the hybrid form would feel more urgent if the reenactments took place in simultaneous story time, rather than always in the past.
But can you please try and find out what time his flight is?
Okay, I'll try.
And call me back right away.
I'll do it.
Because what he told his wife...
In our case, the reenactments were resolving a problem of space, not time. We wanted the narrative clock to keep moving forward.
We needed to edit our documentary footage first to define the story, to identify the parts that needed reenactment, to then write those scripts, to then shoot that material, and then weave it back into the already existing narrative.
This is the process we came up with. First, we build an enhanced radio edit, meaning working with our friend and one of the editors of The Infiltrators, the filmmaker Aldo Velasco. We assembled a version of the whole story using interview material.
Rápido, y se bajaron oficiales con arma armado y me empezaron a apuntar con las armas.
Then we identified which scenes we'd want to recreate. I like to draw, and so for those scenes, I made drawings, super rough storyboards, and we cut those in and used our voices to give them a bit of life.
We built a full 90-minute rough cut like this, and for the first time, we were able to get a sense of how the cross-cutting between documentary and recreation in simultaneous story time might work.
Broward Transitional Center.
Mohammed?
Hey, Marco. Oh, ya estamos hablando ahorita con Marco.
Mo?
What happened?
They're deporting Cesar. His flight is tonight.
Yeah, I know. He just called his wife.
We got excited that somehow, bizarrely, it flowed, even with the rough drawings. We worked for about a year in this form. We realized along the way we had left the ranch.
The film was becoming something very different than a documentary, and it raised questions for us. For example, the real infiltrators thought we were making a documentary.
But now we were writing words that their characters would say. We realized one way or another we were now in a world of writing. My name is Marco. I'm with the National Immigrant Youth Alliance. Your son reached out to us. Sort of like writing a biopic. And so we decided to do something documentaries almost never do, but that people writing biopics do all the time. We decided to show the real people our work.
We had a meeting in New York. Marco, Mo, Viri, Claudio, they all came, and we screened our rough cut with drawings. They got to see how we were depicting them and how we were interpreting scenes that they lived.
Tienes como una hora o 2 horas para preparar todas sus cosas.
We did 2 days of workshops with the group, in which their feedback and knowledge enriched our understanding of the story and impacted the script.
Finally, we temporarily locked the cut and worked again with Aldo to turn the stick figure storyboards into a screenplay. After all that work, we had half of a film and half of a screenplay.
We finally got the cast and crew together to shoot the recreations in summer of 2018. We shot for 15 days. We wanted the recreations to feel distinct from the documentary, so we worked with master cinematographer Lisa Rinsler to give the film an elevated, kind of hyper-real look. We carried a Steadicam for the whole shoot, so the camera moves would feel distinct from the documentary. We wanted to use the visual direction to signal to the audience what was real and what was recreated, so there wouldn't be confusion.
We invited the real infiltrators to come to set, but the only one who could make the trip was Claudio Rojas. Claudio, who spent 7 months locked up in the real detention center, spent a month living with and working with us. He came to set every day and shared his knowledge with the cast and the crew. Him being there took the whole production to a deeper level.
Then, in the fall of 2018, we worked like crazy to integrate the recreations into the cut and to submit to the Sundance Film Festival. The film premiered in January of 2019 and won 2 awards.
Whew.